All right, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go over some logistics and then we will get going. So everyone, my name is Kristen Earhart. I'm a supervising public safety dispatcher with San Jose Fire Communications, and I hope you're all here for the San Jose Fire Department virtual Ask a Dispatcher. I'm going to go over some logistics and then introduce our panel who's here tonight and do a short presentation, and then we will begin. So just for everybody here, some logistics. We're going to go over, we're going to have an agenda. We'll talk about a little bit about the job, do a little short presentation, and then do a question and answer. So for those of you to do the question and answer, if you have a question, go ahead and use if you're with us via Zoom, go ahead and use the raise hand feature, which is found by clicking the reactions button on your screen. You will then be called on by myself, the host, to ask your question live. And before you speak, please sure you mute all other audio. So if you're using multiple devices, it can cause audio feedback. So before you speak, go ahead and mute that. If you're having trouble using the raise hand feature or have trouble locating it on your screen, go ahead and feel free to use the chat box via Zoom as well. And I'll raise that question to the panel for you. And if anybody is watching on Facebook Live, we'll go ahead and monitor that chat and pose the questions that are listed there to our dispatch team as well. I want to thank everybody who's attending tonight. We want you to have a good time, and that I hope we're able to answer all of your questions about what you want to know about the San Jose Fire Department dispatchers and what we do here for the city of San Jose. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and do a brief introduction of our panel. So tonight here we have Senior Public Safety Dispatcher Marissa Gonzalez. She's assigned to our Training and Quality Assurance Unit. And then we also have Public Safety Radio Dispatcher Claire Charling. She is currently in our Operations Unit. She works in the control room as a dispatcher and call taker. And then we also have the Fire Control Room in the background. So they are live watching with us. And if they're able to pop in and answer any questions, they will go ahead and do that. But they are with us, joining us, and happy to help out tonight. And then just to recap, my name is Kristen Earhart. I'm a supervising public safety dispatcher with training and quality assurance. Okay. So just to kick us off, a little bit about the job. So we have, just to talk a little bit about the job, it's a very brief overview. So public safety radio dispatchers, we process emergency calls for fire and medical emergencies for the city of San Jose. And so that can include providing life-saving instructions such as CPR, the Heimlich. We provide instructions to apply a tourniquet or get out of a burning building. We even deliver babies. And so that's when somebody dials 911 and they have a medical or fire emergency, they are transferred to us here in San Jose Fire, and we'll go ahead and process that call and provide them instructions while the responders are en route to their emergency. In addition to that, we also dispatch calls, meaning that we send the responders out to the emergency events. So we send them using a computer, and then we speak to them on the radio, and that is to medical and fire emergencies. And then if they have requests, we process those requests as well. And dispatchers are essential workers, meaning that during the COVID-19 pandemic, while a lot of people were working from home, all of our dispatchers were here coming in and working in person and processing emergency calls for the city of San Jose and the community. And then they're also considered first responders. So California considers a dispatcher, a public safety dispatcher, first responders, and essential workers. So it's a very, very brief overview of what we do, a small glimpse. It's so much more. And so we're hoping with your questions, we're able to add more and answer those for you. And then just the minimum qualifications. So we are currently hiring, and it's pretty small minimum qualifications or a few minimum qualifications to get this job. And that's because we provide paid training. And so we have a paid training program that helps you prepare to be that awesome San Jose Fire dispatcher. So we'll go briefly over these requirements and then move from there. So you just need successful completion of high school or GED or some equivalent of that. And then 3 years of customer contact experience. So that can look like working with the general public. What we're looking for is someone who works with our community. So that could be working in restaurant or retail, a variety of places. And if you're interested in the job and you are applying, make sure you're really clear about what that customer contact experience looks like for you. Because those are the folks that call 911. Those are the people that we work with in our community. And then alternatively, you could also have 1 year of experience processing or receiving dispatching calls in a call center or radio dispatch. And then you need to be legally authorized to work in the United States. And then lastly, we do have the ability to type and use computer is desirable, as most of our work is computer work, lots of multitasking and typing throughout the day. And so that is desirable quality as well. And then I'm not going to list all these, you have them here, but to do the job, these are some of the ideal qualities that our applicant would have. You need to be adaptable. We're working in a team environment. We're working in a high stress environment with lots of multitasking. There's multiple screens, there's 5 screens, and you have a headset and you're listening and you're processing information, and you're talking to someone that possibly that might be calling on their one of their worst days of their lives. And so you need to have that levity, that sense of humor, that ability to cope with stress, to be able to help that person. And so positive attitude, teamwork, good interpersonal skills, the ability to apply our policy and procedures are all ideal qualities. And so all of these help to make a really good dispatcher. And just to go over, so these are the salary and benefits for the position. So as you see here, it's there's one specific set of salary for training, and that again, that's paid training. So from day one, that is the salary you would receive if you're hired into the role of a public safety radio dispatcher trainee. And then after training, you would promote into what's the public safety radio dispatcher, which is what Claire, who on our panel, what she is. And so you'd have that salary that increase. We also have shift differential. So we work multiple shifts. And so depending on which shift you're on, you might receive an additional hourly wage on top of that. And all of that is inclusive of an ongoing 5% non-pensionable compensation pay. And we have additional bilingual pay, uniform allowance, benefits. So this is a full-time paid training. And so you get those benefits right with that full-time position. Some additional benefits here. And again, I want to stress that that's a paid training program. So not a lot of requirements to go ahead and start into this job, because we'll teach you how to do it. And to talk to us about that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our senior public safety dispatcher, Marissa Gonzalez, about our training program. And Marissa, go for it. Oh. She's working out her audio. While she's working that, I'll go ahead and pay attention to her mute on there, but I'll go ahead and talk about it. So to get us started, our paid training program. So it starts with our call taking academy, and it's a basic call taking academy in a classroom environment. And it's 8 weeks. And in those 8 weeks, you are learning how to do the job of a dispatcher. So you are talking about City of San Jose geography, the fire department. And Marissa, I see you're unmuted. You want to take over?
Sure. I believe you are talking.
Go for it.
Setting. Okay. So I believe Kristen started with our in-house academy. Our first portion of our in-house academy is to learn how to be a call taker. It's basically 8 weeks in a classroom environment, and we show you all the ins and outs of how to be a 911 call taker and answer 911 phone calls and become certified as an emergency medical dispatcher, an EMD. And with that training to be an EMD, you will learn how to do things like control bleeding, CPR, and even deliver babies over the telephone. You'll also be certified in ESD to be an emergency fire dispatcher. So anytime someone has a house fire, you'll be able to give them instructions on how to proceed with those kinds of calls. Throughout the academy for those 8 weeks, you'll be taking weekly tests. And at the end of the 8 weeks, you'll have a final exam. So there's a whole progression throughout those 8 weeks. Once we get you through your final exam, you'll be able to go into the control room for another few months and have on-the-job training with a trainer, a control room training officer, and they'll assist you in progressing to become a solo call taker. Once you become a solo call taker after your few months of training, you'll go into the radio academy. Then we'll teach you how to dispatch units, how to talk to units on the radio, how to handle big calls like house fires with multiple units on a radio channel. And that academy is typically 4 weeks long. Again, same thing, classroom setting. There will be a progression on the information that you get. And we use radio equipment in our radio academy so that you learn how to use that equipment once you go back into the control room. Then another 3 or 4 months, you'll be with a CTO again, and they'll teach you in the 4 different phases on how to become a radio dispatcher. And once that's done, it takes about almost a year to become a fully fledged dispatcher. And then you'll be on probation for another year as a solo call taker and a solo radio dispatcher. And then you'll be signed off and off of probation. But that whole time that you're working, this is paid training. So you don't have to have any other educational experience. We're going to teach you everything on how to become a solo dispatcher, and you're also getting paid to do it.
Thank you, Marissa. So that was really, really quick introduction and really quick overview of the position, because we want to hear what your questions are. So again, we'll go ahead. I'll stop sharing my screen in a moment. I'll look at the chat for some questions and look for those who are raising their hand. And I'll go ahead and have that Facebook Live up as well. So give me a moment to go ahead and stop my screen sharing. Okay. Okay. If you are with us via Zoom, go ahead and use the raise hand feature, and then I will call on you. Right now, I currently see one question so far. It looks like somebody missed the pay scale for training and then after. So I will actually go ahead and share my screen for one more moment for that person, and I will go back to the salary. Give me one moment for you. Okay, so this is our salary. So for during training, it would be that 85,132. And then once you are done with training and you are signed off dispatcher, like Marissa mentioned about that year long, then it would go ahead and bump up to that promotion to the 94,000 range. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I see some hands raised as well. So one moment. Okay, so Brian Kim, I do see you. Go ahead with your question. Not sure if you're muted. We don't hear you, Brian, on Zoom. Okay, we are gonna, I'll leave, I see Brian's hand up, but I'll move on. Ron, I see a Ron with a question. Go for it.
Hi, yeah, how many people generally start the academy? Sorry, I'm using my husband's Zoom. I'm not Ron. How many people start the academy and successfully finish it on average? Is there a big washout rate or stress reaction?
I will start that question, and then I'll see if Claire have any Claire or Marissa have any additions to that. So We have people who all start the academy, and we always hope that they'll all finish. They do end up leaving for a variety of reasons. If we have people leave, it's not always that they didn't necessarily make it. There's personal reasons, and so I don't have the exact number, but there are people who may not finish with us in the academy.
Okay.
Anything else to add on that with Claire or Marissa?
Just one thing I'd like to add about the training program also. It's pretty intense. So during the time that you're with a communications training officer, you're getting feedback daily. It's not like a typical job. You'll get feedback daily from your CTO, you'll get feedback weekly from your senior, and then in 3 weeks, we check your progress with your CTO and your senior. So it's pretty intense, very hands-on. I think a lot of people are also not used to that type of training, but we're really supportive. And like Kristen said, we really always hope that every time we have an academy, it's 100% success rate.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. Like Marissa said, we want to support you. If you apply for this job, we're going to try to do our best to support you through the process. Okay, thank you, Ron. And then Lydia, I see Lydia with a question.
Good evening. Thank you for this information, taking time from your busy schedules to get this information out for us. I'm currently a dispatcher myself out in New York City. So I know I'm up a little late, but my question would be how many employees are per operations and also per tour? I'll say per tour. And also what about if you have experience? Is there like any fast track with the training, or do you still have to be certified for both the EMD and the EFD?
So I'm going to answer a portion of the question, and then I'm going to have Claire answer part of the question as well for the staffing part of it. So the second part of your question about the hiring and training, if we were to have somebody with experience. So EMD and EFD is a requirement of employment. So we would have someone go through that process. With the timeline that Marissa shared, there is opportunity if a trainee were to move quicker through the process. We could move someone faster. So there's not necessarily that full year that is required. If once you move into those the communications training officer portion that she talked about, there is room to move faster. But the EMD and EFD portion, that is a requirement of employment. And then for the different shifts, schedule wise, for the minimum staffing, I'm going to have that one go to you, Claire. And then if there's anything you want to add, training, of course, too.
Okay, so for our minimum shift staffing, we have 3 shifts a day. We have a midnight shift, a day shift, and a swing shift. And of course, we're staffed 24 hours a day for our large city in California. Midnight shift right now, we work 8s right now, 8 hours. And then we have 2 off. And you can have different days off depending. We do a annual shift bid every year. So you're going to bid on your shifts and it's based on seniority, but basically we run in the control room with 2 call takers and 2 radio, and then 1 person that helps do break reliefs in the room and give everybody a break throughout the shift through our 8 hours. And then we have one senior in the room who is basically like a captain would be for the fire department. So the senior is overseeing the room and operations. And then we have the 2 radio dispatchers for the city and then 2 911 call takers. So there's 2 certified medical 911 call takers for San Jose at all times. And often there's 3 with the break reliefs, and the senior is also a working senior. And all of us are cross-trained. So we all do all the positions we can do. We'll get deployed at different places every day. midnight shift right now can go down one. They don't have a break reliefs every day. And that was based on some of the traffic levels and call volume levels. But ideally, we'd like to be staffed at 5 dispatchers and 1 senior overseeing operations per shift.
Thank you, Claire. Lydia, did you have any other, did that answer your question or anything else on that one?
Absolutely did. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And New York Dispatching, kudos to you. Thanks for standing up for us.
Thank you guys, and thank you for your service too.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go back, see if Brian, were you able to unmute? I did see Brian. Okay. I see you're unmuted.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Hi, guys. I'm just kind of curious what you see trainees struggle with most during training and maybe right after training when they graduate to full-fledged dispatcher.
Marissa, you want to take that one?
Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry, I've had some audio issues. I'm working on 2 different things here. So like I had said a moment ago was that, you know, this is a pretty intense training program. There's policies and protocols that we have to follow for each phone call that we take. And I think sometimes it's difficult for people to understand that things do have to be read verbatim. It's not really freelance. Sometimes it's hard to choose which protocol, and we have a protocol for almost anything that you can think of for someone in an emergency. A lot of the time it just has to do with really intense training. Like I said, we give daily feedback, weekly feedback. There's phases that you go through. It's very hands-on, and it's just not typical for a normal job. The other thing is some people just say it's not necessarily cut out for them. We do deal with, I mean, just to be blunt, life and death every day. We give CPR, hear calls that most people probably don't want to listen to, but there's always really good outcomes. Also, like I said, we know how to deliver babies over the telephone, and a few of us have done that over the years. So it's really hard to pinpoint one specific thing, but another big thing is the hours that we work. Throughout the training program, you're working all 3 shifts, just so you can get experience taking the different kinds of phone calls, the different traffic load on each and every shift, and each shift has its own personality and traffic load. And that's really hard for people because it's every few weeks that you're switching. So I hope that answered it.
Yes, thank you very much.
Anything else on that one, Brian, or?
No, that was good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I see Zachary.
Hi, I just want to start with thanking you for giving us this opportunity to ask, a few questions. This is kind of a follow-up to Lydia's question. I'm not sure if it would be considered a follow-up, but I just wanted to ask if I know that SJPD sometimes does this thing called mandatory overtime, right? Where, if they need somebody, they'll bring somebody in. Is there something similar to that in the fire department? Or if like somebody can't make it, then they need to bring somebody, and it's based on who works the most hours, and right?
Yeah, so I will start the answer and then I'm gonna give that one to you, Claire, and because you're in operations right now. So we do have mandatory overtime. We do have minimum staffing to meet. So when Claire mentioned that we have the 4 to 5 dispatchers and 1 senior, we do need to meet that minimum staffing level. So if there is not enough staffing to do that, then we're going to go ahead and use that mandatory overtime. There's more. I'll go ahead and punt this one to Claire so that she can add more because she's in there every day.
Okay, so yes, there's a lot of opportunity for overtime and mandatory overtime. We do not do mandatory callbacks. We can't call you in unless there's like a major disaster. We wouldn't call you in from home and tell you have to come back. But you can get tagged for overtime. It is based on hours that you've worked so far and then seniority. So if there's vacant shifts and vacancies that need to be filled throughout the week on the schedule for upcoming, they'll go through and people will get tagged and mandatory slips will be handed out for that. And on the positive note, though, a lot of people really enjoy working a lot of the overtime. It's a really good opportunity to really kind of fluff up your salary. You can make a lot of money because there is a lot of overtime available. And so a lot of people use the overtime to pay off, cars or other things that they wanted. So there's lots of opportunity for overtime too. But yes, you do get mandoed, and it does happen fairly frequently. We all just kind of work as a team, and we're like, well, this time it's me. Okay, I'll make it work. And if we can't make it work too, we do. Right now we're permitted shift trades. It's really similar to our fire personnel to the line. I don't know if you're at all familiar with that, but we can do shift trades too, where we trade shifts for time. So if I need time off because I have to go to my sister's wedding, I can manage to work it out with all my teammates and my coworkers so that we can do shift trade slips so that I can get the time that I need off guaranteed pretty much. So there is a lot of leeway and ways to work around the time and a lot of opportunity to make the extra money. So it ends up working out. For me too, as a mom, I really enjoy the off hours. I don't hit any commute traffic. I work swings. And I have a whole half a day to like take all my kids to school and get everything done around the house. And then I only need half the day of care for my kids. So the schedule can end up working out really well too.
Claire, can you go ahead and elaborate? You mentioned swings. Can you talk about our different shifts and what those hours are, please?
Oh, sure. I mentioned that in the last question too. So right now for the 8 hours, day shift is 6:30 a.m. until 14:30 in the afternoon. Swings is 14:30 to 22:30. And then midnight shift is 22:30 back to 6:30 a.m. Those are our 3 8s. And so most of the time we work half of the extra shift for overtime. So we work a 12. We'll work, like I could work 10:30 a.m. until 22:30 for my 12, and I'll work half of day shift and my shift, which isn't too bad. 12 hours is not too bad. We can work a maximum of 14 hours right now as well. So, and then we have to guarantee too that you get enough turnaround, of course, so that you're not back here in 6 hours after you worked a 14. So there's all kinds of, it's pretty complex, but once you get through the training and figure out the schedule, there is a lot of opportunity for flexibility.
Thank you, Claire. Zachary, did you have anything else on that?
Just to clarify with the mandatory overtime, like, they'll never like just randomly call you. You'll always be alerted like ahead of time when it's going to be. Oh, they can jump it on you. Okay. No, that's all I
wouldn't
wanted.
say never, because you never know.
Right.
But like Claire mentioned, with I mean, we are, as a public employees, disaster service workers, so
Right.
there is
No,
always
that
that
makes
opportunity. But we will use, we try not to have people come in on their day off if we can avoid it and things like that. We want to try to do our best with that work-life balance, so we wouldn't necessarily be calling folks at home.
Okay. All right.
In my time here, we've never done that, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm gonna, there's some in the chat, so I'm gonna go ahead and direct these ones to you, Marissa. So we have 2 folks in the chat, Jill and Timothy, who have similar questions. So, or Timothy and Julio, sorry. So the questions are, Marissa, what might the training schedule hours or day look like? And the other one is, what is the schedule in training time?
So
Hello.
during,
Hello.
so during,
Oh, hi. Julio, I think Marissa's going to go ahead and move forward with that answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
give me 1 second so I can scroll back up. So our training schedule starts off 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and it could vary depending on the kind of schedule that we choose. We like to include, we try to include all 3 of our shifts to assist with us. There's days that they can come in and teach classes and things like that. So it could be anywhere from like 7 to 4, 8 to 5, but it's 5 days a week. And that's throughout your academy time. During your rotations in the control room, you'll be working, we try to get you on every single shift. So you'll work the shifts that Claire mentioned, but I'll go ahead and tell you an AM PM. So 6:30 to 2:30 PM. Again, it won't be Monday through Friday. It will be whatever schedule your trainer is on. The next shift is swing shift, and that's 2:30 PM to 10:30 PM. And then the midnight schedule will be 10:30 PM to 6:30 AM. And you'll be on the same schedule, so your days off will differ also. It could be, you can have weekends off, you can have Wednesday, Thursday off. But again, the total time that you'll be in training until you become a fully fledged dispatcher will be about a year. Kim and Julio, did that answer your question, or did you need more clarification?
Yeah, it's clear. Just little things. For example, they can decide a schedule, or for example, I can decide 6:30 to 2:30 or 2:30 to 10 every day, or is depends.
It depends on the availability of our trainers. So the training unit will assign you to a trainer and try to get you to rotate each shift throughout every phase, which is typically about 3 to 4 weeks of the process. So it looks like almost every 3 or 4 weeks, you'll be moving schedules.
And then just to clarify, Julio, no, it wouldn't be something that you decide. It would be something that is assigned to you. And so the schedules that we have, I think Claire mentioned about shift bidding a little bit. So the training schedule is assigned to you, and then once you're signed off, we have the 3 shifts that you would then be able to bid on.
I got it. It's clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and then I have a hand up. I think the name is Bejinas or Bejinas. Go for it.
Yeah, Bejinas, thank you. Hi. Most of the questions were already kind of answered as far as the scheduling goes, but just based on your own department, like what is the majority of the schedule that's needed, or like that's least, I guess, bid on? Like which shift, in other words?
I'm gonna let Claire take that one.
Thank you.
Okay, so actually, I would say that they're all pretty even. We have people that are, diehard mids, like that's their shift. It's been their shift, and they're going to bid mids every year. And then people that need day shift for their life, to work out, or it's their favorite shift to be on. Like I need swing shift for my life to work, so I'm on swings. And so I would actually say that there isn't a need where it's always like this one shift and we can't fill it. It's not really like that. We have everybody, all different backgrounds, all different needs for scheduling and flexibility. And so it's pretty even most of the time. And people do tend to switch too. We bid on trinaries for the year. So you're on a shift for 3 months, and then you can change if you want. So I tend to bid like the same shift all year, but some people might want to bid a different shift in the summer because their kids are off school, or they might want to bid the same shift for the first 2 trinaries, and then for the holiday season bid something else. So there's also that flexibility. Did that answer the question?
It did, thank you. And you said it's every like 3 months that you guys base it. Oh, okay.
Bid, so yeah, thirds of the year. So once a year at the end of the year, usually in December or a little bit before December, we'll try to bid for the whole next year. You'll pick your shift for the following year, and you'll bid for the 3 parts of the year.
Okay, great. And then I do have a different or another side's question as far as like I was looking for to the applying process. You guys don't require with the application itself the post test or the critical test within, in order to apply?
So We do have a critical portion as a part of our hiring process. If you've taken critical or you've taken post previously, I mean, that's all really good experience that'll help prepare you for the job. But the post part is post certification is not a requirement. Again, it's going to help you in terms of knowing more about the job or maybe about the process probably. And then for critical, we have our own critical that we would administer if you move forward in that part of the process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. And then I see another hand up for Mi Dang or Mi Dang.
Hi, it's me, Mi Dang. Just want to thank you guys for taking your time out on your busy, work schedule to do this. My question, I have two. One would be, I know everyone's asking about the schedule and all that, but I really want to know what is the call volumes like, and like on a busy day or like a stormy day, like how are the calls?
All right, I'm gonna give this one both to Claire and Marissa to talk about the day-to-day calls, and then I have just one that I have our stats last year. We processed over 114,000 calls as a center, but that can include a variety of sources. And so, but in terms of the day-to-day and stormy days that we just recently have, I'm gonna go ahead and give that to both of them. Marissa, I'll let you go first, and then Claire can add to that one.
The thing I love about my job is that there is a variety. So we recently had some stormy days and it gets pretty busy. So busy, in fact, that we inundated PG&E with a lot of calls because there were lots of PG&E wires and cable wires down. And when that happens, we do our best to get every single call out. But typically day to day, everything is pretty steady. Like I said, each shift has its own personality. Day shift definitely has its flurries, as does swings and also mids. I think a day we probably hit close to 300 calls, but we also take business calls day to day. We also do after hours for the city of San Jose, public works, and the water company, things like that also. Most of the day is pretty steady. On a really good day, we'll have some lulls that we have some time to do trainings and different things like that that we're assigned throughout the year. But a lot of the time we're pretty busy. Claire?
So yeah, we get very busy. It's sort of the nature of working in any of the emergency services. It comes in waves a lot of the time. So it could be okay for a while, and then all of a sudden there'll be like a wave that comes in, and we just kind of ride it out, and the room works together as a team. That's part of why the training is so long and intense, so that everybody has a role and knows what to be doing so that we can work together as efficiently as possible. And the call volume can get very high. We're running 35 fire stations right now with hundreds of pieces of equipment. And we run mostly medical calls in the city. So it's just a very diverse city as far as like the area that we run, like the types of calls and the places that we have to go. And all of the geography of the city is very diverse. And so it can get very busy, and some types of calls take longer than others. And the same with our calls on the phone. Some types of medical calls can take longer to process than others. And some types of fire calls will get, 15 people driving by on the freeway calling for the fire because everybody sees it driving by. So that's another factor. But our call number is definitely up in the hundreds every day. Did that answer the question too?
Yes, yeah, that answered perfectly. And my second question, it would be, I know you guys mentioned about overtime, and as a probationary, are we allowed to bid, like, I don't know if bid is the correct word, but like put our name on the list to get overtime as well? Or that's something that after the 1 year, then we would sign up for?
So I'll go ahead and just take that one real quick. So our trainees, while they are in active training, so in the call taking portion, or they're learning how to be call takers, we don't want them to work overtime because we want them to focus on their job, and they aren't able to really work overtime because they're not signed off in anything. And then once they're solo call takers, there is some opportunity. Marissa mentioned that solo time in between the two academies, there's definitely some opportunity to help out. And then during radio training, it really depends. It's very individual because they could help as a call taker. But our goal really is we want you to be able to focus on training. So you'll never be, we don't want our trainees to, they're not able to be forced to work overtime. But there is some opportunity with specific parameters when they're at least done with call taking training. Does that help with that one?
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you for you guys for all that you do.
Oh, thank you. All right. I see some chat questions, so I'm going to go ahead and go with those. There's no hands up right now. So there's Tariq in the chat asked about the critical exam. So they previously took the critical exam and they passed, and they would like to take it. Do they need to take it again? So for that, yes, we have our own portion or our own test version of the critical. And so you would take a critical with us again. And for those who aren't familiar with critical and you are interested in the position, there is, I would go ahead and definitely look that up. And there's some practice tests and things that you can do, but we do have our own one that you would need to pass to progress in the hiring process with us. And then Zachary, I see your hand up again, if you want to go ahead with your question, and then we'll get back to the chat ones.
Yeah, so in regards to critical, would the RASP dispatcher, I don't know if RASP dispatcher, would she still be like a good way or a good guide for the critical? Because I know she's for SJPD, but I don't know if it would necessarily like you know what's the word? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm having a brain fart here.
It's okay.
If it would line up well enough.
So San Jose Police Communications, they are awesome partners of ours, but we do have different critical from them. Certainly, if you have a resource that you're able to reach out and ask questions, we always encourage anyone interested in the position to seek answers and ask for help. And if that's a resource for you, I would definitely go ahead and ask that person. But like I said, you can also research the critical, and there are some, I believe, some practice tests that you can take as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's just it's a YouTube channel, so I just wanted to know if it would like still work.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I would still go ahead and prepare yourself that way. And then
all right, thank you.
And then I have Tanya.
Yes, I'm here. I have a question regarding after you're into the in the academy. You talked about you have to take an exam. Do you only if someone doesn't pass the first time, can they take it again, or do they have to start all over again to apply?
Okay. Did you ask that one? Tanya, do you?
Yes. Yeah, I asked it in the chat.
Okay, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. If you could mute yourself while I just ask you this portion.
Okay.
Or actually, I'm going to get so for this one, the question was, I believe, relating to academy exams. So do they have more than one opportunity to, if they don't pass an exam, do they have more than one opportunity to take it? And then let me know if you'd like me to answer that one as well, Marissa. Not sure if the audio is working, so I'm going to go ahead and just take this one, Marissa, saying the audio is not quite working. So for Tanya, I think you're referencing the exams when if you were hired on and you were to join our academy. We do give out our academy requirements and what the requirements are to pass the academy. So there are quizzes, and there's maybe some opportunity to retake some quizzes. We do have final exams that you would be required to pass, but we would make sure that we do our very best to get you prepared, and it shouldn't be a surprise what would be on that final. Marissa would do an awesome job getting you prepared for that if you moved forward in that process. Does that help, Tanya? I'm seeing a little trouble with the mute. If you want to go ahead, respond in the chat. It sounds like we're having some audio challenges. So go ahead and respond in the chat, Tanya. So I want to make sure we're able to answer that question fully for you. Okay, I'm going to wait to hear back from her. I'm going to go back into the chat. So
I'm sorry, I'm unmuted now, sorry.
okay, go for it.
Yes, that you answered my question, and then I have one more question. I missed the beginning of the Zoom. I don't know did you go over the process, the hiring process, like the dates? On the posting itself, it showed the dates like April, May, June. Is those dates still the same, around approximately the same time?
Yes, we are looking to hire for this current recruitment, which is open through March 10th. We are looking to hire for an academy at the end of June. So yes, anybody who's interested in the position, I encourage you to go ahead and look at that posting, and we'll post a pathway at the end, but it's that at our SJFD911.org does have the link to the posting, and that does have that timeline with those key dates. So that is the timeline that we're looking to hire, Tanya.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. I'm gonna go here. So let me go ahead and look through our chat and get some of our questions from our chat. Thank you, everybody who's been patiently waiting in our chat. So we have a question. So do we accept people who speak Spanish and who can speak Spanish in these emergency situations? So Marissa, do you want to go ahead and talk about our bilingual pay and our interpreter service?
We currently have a number of people in the control, a couple of people in the control room that are bilingual. So one of them is a Vietnamese speaker. And so when we do get calls that speak that language, then she can take the call fully in Vietnamese. We would love to have someone who speaks Spanish to take those calls. But we also have an interpreter service that we utilize when we have a call taker who does not speak the language of the person calling 911. So yes, we would love for someone who can speak Spanish to come and work for us.
Thank you, Marissa. And then I have one, I think we answered this, but I'm going to have it go one more time just to make sure it's really clear. So I'm going to give this one to you, Claire. This comes from Jennifer in the chat. So after one passes the training, are you able to pick your shift, or are shifts set, or are you required to rotate, or can shifts change? So I think just another good summary of the what you gave before with our shifts.
Okay. So once you graduate from both academies, once you're done with call taking and radio academy, and you're signed off on everything, which means that you are certified EMD, EFD, and you've been signed off on radio dispatching, then you are on probation for a year. During that year probationary, I touched on earlier, we have trinaries. There are 3 parts to each year that we can bid on. However, for the first year while you're on probation and you're a probationary public safety radio dispatcher, you are assigned, administratively assigned each shift to make sure that you get experience. It's similar to most medical fields and emergency services. So you're assigned 1 trinary on day shift, which again is 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. 1 trinary on swings, 2:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and then 1 trinary on midnight shift, which is 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. They might not be in order, It's kind of wherever the rest of your academy ends up, and we try not to put you know, both of you on the same. We'll try to put probationaries on different shifts so that they can get experience with all of our team. So no, for the first year, you're administratively assigned. And then after that, we should do shift bid based on seniority. So based on your rank, which is your date of hire and badge number. But there is, as I also mentioned earlier, there ends up being a lot of opportunity for flexibility in the schedule once you've been with us for some time. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that was a good answer, Claire. That was a chat question, so I don't have the follow-up for you. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay.
And then so the next one, Ricky in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and answer this one. So question is there an opportunity to sit in the call center to see the operations and how dispatchers operate? So we would call those sit-alongs. If anybody is familiar with the term ride-along, where maybe you've seen people who might ride along in a fire engine or a police car, we in the control room call them sit-alongs, where you would be sitting along, observing and seeing what dispatchers do. So to answer your question right now, Ricky, during the hiring process, we don't typically just offer or allow folks to come in and sit along when there's an active hiring process. And then we also have some COVID considerations and some pandemic elements to that. If a candidate moved forward in the hiring process, we do offer, are able to offer some a virtual tour or potentially a sit along as a part of the hiring process. But once we've entered that active hiring, which we're doing right now, we don't just allow folks to come in and visit. But once we are able to, if you're interested or it happens in the future, it's a great opportunity. We do also have a video on the San Jose Fire Department YouTube channel called Heroes Behind the Headset, and that one does give a little bit of a glimpse into what a dispatcher does. You can see the control room. And you can kind of hear some radio traffic and things like that. So it just also gives a good opportunity. But we do think there is value with those sit-alongs, being able to see all of our awesome dispatchers, look at all of the different screens and hear how they communicate with each other and listen to the radio and phone calls all at the same time. And it really does give you a good glimpse into what goes on in there. So thank you for that question. I'm going to keep going. So next question, I'm going to give this one to you, Marissa. So get ready to unmute. This one comes from Carmela in the chat. And it says, do you prefer someone who is local or closer to San Jose? And they're asking because they live in the East Bay area.
So Carmela, we prefer anybody who would like to drive and come and work for us. I actually live about an hour away, and probably about over 50% of our dispatchers do not live in the city of San Jose. So East Bay is closer than actually a few of us live. So yes, by all means, apply.
Thank you, Marissa. Next one from Jill. How many current openings are available? And is the initial testing during the application process difficult? So our openings are based on our current vacancies. So we have currently 8 vacancies. It doesn't necessarily mean we'd be having an academy of 8. It's going to depend on our training capacity as well. But we are able to use our hiring process for potentially more than one academy. But we do have currently 8 vacancies. And then the initial testing during the application process. I'm going to give that one to Claire. She was hired more recently than Marissa, although they both have been here quite a long time. So we'll see. Claire, do you remember anything about that initial process?
For my initial hiring process, I think it was a bit longer than it is now. It was the same steps, I believe, but it just was spread out a little bit more. So now it's a little bit more streamlined. I do remember that there were multiple steps. I sat in on in a large lecture hall at Independence High School and took the survey that they give out to everyone. That's just like generalized questions. It's a Scantron sheet, just kind of judging basic suitability for the job. And then you can move on to the next parts of the process. There's, I don't remember which part exactly comes next, but I know that there was, I took the critical and there is a full background check, and also a lie detector test. We take it very seriously. You have to basically do every step that you would have to do if you were going to be sworn personnel with San Jose PD or San Jose Fire Department. You have to go through all of the background checks, and then I'm sure that there's, Kristen can probably explain better the order and everything, because I don't remember that. There's, at the end, I do remember there's a panel interview that you do with members of both fire dispatch and the line, and some of the more senior members, some chiefs, at the very end as well. And back to you.
Thank you. So she mentioned some of those steps, and that is all listed out on our job posting. And so it talks about those different elements. So she mentioned a polygraph and a background check, and you do need to be able to pass those, and a panel interview. So we call that an oral board interview. And so if you are interested in the position and preparing yourself, definitely looking into what that takes and what an oral board interview is, and helping to prepare yourself. The testing, speaking to the difficulty, is a little bit challenging. I think it's going to depend on the person if it's hard for them or not. But I believe they're talking about the critical test and just asking if that was challenging. And I think, like I said, we've talked on here, there's ways to help prepare yourself for that. Okay, so this one is from Anasini in the chat. So she said, they say this is a more of a technical question. So how are 911 calls filtered between county 911 and SJFD 911? Does the 911 call go to county first and then from there transferred to SJFD if it's fire or medical call within certain city parameters? So I will start my answer to that, and then if Marissa or Claire would like to also add anything, that's fine as well. So we are what's called a secondary PSAP, so public safety answering point, and so we are a secondary, meaning that there's a primary PSAP, public safety answering point, that would answer those calls. And that's typically going to be in a law enforcement agency. So depending on where that call comes in, it could go to San Jose Police first, it could go to the California Highway Patrol, or it could go to county sheriff, as you mentioned here in that question. And then once they determine that that call is medical or fire in nature, and there's not any kind of scene safety element or law enforcement element to it, they would transfer it to, and it's in San Jose Fire's jurisdiction, they would transfer it to us, and we would then go ahead and process it. And then I don't know if anything, Claire or Marissa, you want to add to that as well. So Marissa shaking her head. Claire, do you have anything to add to that? Okay. And then just go ahead and let me know if you have any other questions on that one. But that's kind of the basic overview of how, if you call 911, what would happen for us. And then Dadis in the chat. So is the paid training paid? And if so, is there an increase in pay upon training, passing tests and certifications? So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly answer that one because we went over it a little bit. So it is a paid training program. And then once you pass the training portion, so from a PSRDT, public safety radio dispatcher training, you pass everything and you promote into public safety radio dispatcher, there is an increase in pay for that one. And then from Facebook, Sean, I'm going to go ahead and give this one to you, Claire. Are the newbies required to work nights in the beginning?
I touched upon the administrative assignment earlier for the probationary, but that's after you're already signed off. So for the very first year, after you finish the 8-week academy, which is the first portion for taking calls, how to take a 911 call, and you're out in the control room floor, you're going to get assigned a training officer. Like I'm a CTO, so I'll take a trainee. And we have different phases. We start at the beginning and work our way through, and basically dependent on how many people are coming out of the academy and where they can go on the shifts for CTO availability and seat availability for all of us in the room. They're going to assign you to somebody. So you're going to end up working most likely some nights the first year and some of everything the first year. And it will be more frequent changes in that trinary. It's going to be based on your trainer schedule. So if you're assigned to me for a phase 1, you're gonna have me for 4 weeks and you'll be on my schedule. And then you might get assigned to somebody else who's on midnight shift for your phase 2. And you'll be on their schedule then for the next 4 weeks. So that's just the first year. There's a bit of bouncing around, and then our general academy hours are different. I believe they run 7:30 to 4:30, something like that.
I'll let Marissa mentioned, so they vary. So they tend to be about business hours, but as she mentioned, they vary depending on, we try to vary them a little bit to get that exposure about changing shifts. And just piggybacking on what Claire said, we want you to get exposure to all the different shifts as a trainee. You get different types of calls, different teams that work on the different shifts. And so it's really important that our trainees kind of get exposure to all of those different shifts, both in call taking and radio, so that we know that they're able to, and they can get that confidence that they're able to handle everything on each shift. Thank you, Claire. And then Behinas in the chat is asking if San Jose Fire Department is union. And so we are a part of local MEF, or MEF Local 101, which is also a union that has multiple different city entities in it as well. And then I will go ahead and give this one to you, Marissa. Oh, actually, I don't see you. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one to Claire. This is from Mikhail in the chat. I was wondering about paid time off and benefits packages for training and after.
So we have good benefits. So we have city benefits right now, which is health insurance, dental, and it's the same, I think, for most of the city, but it's a really good benefits package. You can read more about it in our flyer for the specifics on that one. And for the paid time off, we do get quite a lot of paid time off, and it increases with the amount of time that you are here. This is as was touched on earlier, this is a very high stress job. And so it's not uncommon for people to take that have been there for a few years to take weeks off at a time for vacation time that they've accrued, and it's paid vacation, paid time off. And you can accrue hours every year, and there's step up. So I believe there's one step up after you've been there for 2 years and another one after 5 years. You can get step ups in how many hours for paid time off that you may accrue annually. So that is another very nice benefit. And along with the shift trade options that we offer, you can add quite a bit of time if you need it for vacation each year. Did that answer the question?
Thank you, Claire. Yeah, so what she's mentioning is you can also work your overtime for comp time, which would give you some more time to be able to take off. We have very much a lot of work hard, play hard folks here. They work a lot of overtime, and then they like to go on some really great vacations. And so our folks would definitely be able to speak to that. I believe we do have really good time off. And then just to circle back on that, that's paid training, and you do have benefits as a full-time employee as a trainee as well. And then I'm going to give this one to you, Claire, too. So this one comes from Sean in the chat. What are the ABCs of a good call? How can we better help you to help us in an emergency?
Okay, it sounds like you're asking from like a civilian standpoint when you call 911. Is that correct? Okay. So what to expect when you call 911? We have to follow very strict protocols. It protects us and the patient, and make sure that we're giving a high quality standard of care to our citizens in the city that is uniform. And so if you're going to call, you're going to get asked to verify the address first, because the very first thing that we would need to know is where to send them. We're going to get the help started as soon as possible, within 90 seconds of getting the call if we can, but we need to know where. So we're going to ask you where we need to go. We're going to verify a phone number in case for some reason that the phone line gets disconnected. We can call back. And then we're going to ask you, okay, tell me exactly what happened. And that's your opportunity to tell us what happened. And then based on the information that you give us, we're going to choose from any of our number of protocols to assist you with questions. We're going to get information for the paramedics while they're already driving to the emergency. So we'll be asking you questions that will help them along the way and determine their code of response, whether they're going to need lights and sirens or not, and a whole bunch of other things based on the answers to the questions for the nature of the emergency. And it both ensures our line safety, and it also ensures that we're getting the citizens the best and most appropriate care and response that we can. The reason that we need to be EMD certified and maintain our certifications for EMD and EFD is that because we're the first responders, and we're also first in the pre-hospital line of care before a patient is delivered to the hospital. We need to make sure that that's our patient until we hand it over to the medic or the next person that arrives on scene. So that's the whole point. We ask a lot of questions. A lot of people are like, why are you asking me so many questions? Well, we need to get all the information to do all of that. And when we call it triaging, like medically triaging the call before the paramedics arrive, and we can hand over our patient care to them. I hope that answered that.
Thank you, Claire. And I'm going to have both of you speak on this one. So Marissa, I'll have you go first if you want to get your audio ready. So from Justine in the chat, what support does the department provide in response to the mental stresses of the job?
So one of the things that we have in our agency is called CISM, Critical Incident Management Support, I believe is what it's called. And a number of our peers go through training to help support you after difficult calls that you may take, difficult events that happen throughout your career there. I believe Kristen may be on CISM or was on CISM. And so if ever you need to talk to somebody, you could talk to one of your peers about that. We also provide support services that are part of our benefits.
Employees.
I don't remember offhand. EAP, I believe. And so those are also available for you. But we also talk to you like throughout the academy, and your CTOs will talk to you about, different things that you can do on your own time. Always, take care of yourself, do something for you. If you like, some people like to work out, some people like to read. Sometimes after difficult calls, we have a nice upstairs area with kind of a track area, and we also have a garden up there. People like to go walk it off. We have a quiet room in the building if we need to go sit somewhere quiet after a difficult kind of call also.
Claire, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, along with the CISM too, I think it's important to mention too that a lot of the times the calls are hard for all of us, the whole team, us and the responders that are arriving on scene. And a lot of times the dispatchers will be invited or asked to go along with the responders while they do their critical incident stress management after. So we'll go in with them too, and they'll want to hear what happened in the call before they got there. If it was a very difficult call or a call involving like pediatrics or something of that nature. And it's good though, because it's just very supportive all around. It's one of our core values is family, and that really has a feeling of family. Another thing that I think that really is cool that we've been doing lately is we've been participating in a lot of like, our job, we have stand desks. So a lot of us stand up all day and like move around a lot. We're not really just sitting, but a lot of us are very active and like to work out a lot. And so we do walk challenges where we count our steps, and it's a really good team building exercise too. We do a lot of things like that are very team building and help kind of relieve the stress. There's a lot of humor in the room in between the calls and stuff. And it really is, I really enjoy being at work. It's a fun place to be most of the time. We have a good time.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Marissa. So just to summarize, Justine, we have a behavioral health team, which goes with, so the critical incident stress management team. If there's a tough call or a critical incident, we do what's called a debriefing, where we all meet after and kind of talk about it, so that we can process it and then go home and be whole, healthy people, because we don't want you to be robots, and we want you to be a human, and you're going to have exposure to these emergencies and things that not a regular person would have exposure to, but so you might have reactions to, and want to be you to be able to go back to your people in your life and be a whole healthy person. So we want to help you process that. And then, like Marissa mentioned, there's the Employee Assistance Program, EAP. So there's some mental health services and lots of other life support services through that program with the city as well. And then we have peer-to-peer option, which is where we help each other out as peers and can listen. So lots of support. And then they have both mentioned all of the other ways we help each other as a team. So thank you, both of you. And then Yvonne is asking again, so how many are we hiring for this recruitment, and how many positions are available? So we have 8 vacancies right now, and what the academy, how many we end up hiring for the end of June academy will be based on our capacity to train, but we do have 8 vacancies. So our goal is to fill those 8 vacancies, and that might be with multiple academies. Okay, so Marissa, this one's going to be for you, but I can support you if you would like. So for Sean in the chat, can you describe any training that dispatchers may receive to better communicate with people who may have special needs, have speech disabilities, or are blind, and to use an ASL interpreter service? And I can also support with that, as well as I helped out with our most recent call taking academy, so I can help her with that too.
So yes, we do talk about customer service and communication. We do have the ability to go through interpreters who do ASL. So I'm trying to think of the technical term, but we'll talk to someone who is signing to the other person in the background, and then they'll go through the interpreter service like that. And
sorry, just Marissa, I think you're talking about the California relay service.
Yes,
California offers a relay service in general.
Yes.
So we may receive calls from them.
Yes, and we definitely use that, and that's typically on the job. Again, we do have TTY though, and so our phone system is able to use that as well if someone calls in with that capability. And again, we do go through a lot of customer service. We're actually graded on it. So when anybody calls, disability or not, we definitely work on that. And we also have the ability to do text to 911. So now that's something that's utilized, if you text 911 on your cell phone, it'll go through the police department first, just like a normal phone call. And if it has any medical or fire needs, it'll come through us also. And people are definitely using that.
Thank you, Marissa. And yeah, just to summarize, we do regular in the academy, there's an overall training on processing teletype calls for folks with hearing or speech loss. And then we do regular trainings on that. All of our positions have an ability to take those calls. And then Marissa mentioned that the ability, we do talk to the California Relay Service quite a bit. So we are able to take those calls, and like she said, we teach all sorts of ways. That's why we want people to work in the general public, or with the community, because that's who calls 911. And so we need our call takers and our trainees to be able to take calls from anyone in any type of emergency and any type of different mental capacities and things like that. So thank you, Marissa. And then I see one from Nicholas. So what are the minimum requirements to apply? I took the post dispatcher course a few years ago and have been dispatching in security globally as a GSOC operator. So I'm going to just get that one out. So minimum requirements, Nicholas, are either 1 year in a dispatching or call center. So GSOC may meet that requirement. It would have to look into that more. Or the alternative would be the 3 years general customer contact. And then I see a question, Pat, is SJFD dispatch with CalPERS? We are not with CalPERS. And just looking through our chat, feel free to raise your hand as well. There was one question I'm going to go back to. One moment. While I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and ask this question for you two. Marissa and Claire, and I'll have Marissa go first and then Claire. What are we looking for in an ideal candidate, and what can they do to prepare for the job?
Ideally, we would like someone who is compassionate about the job. It's everybody who works there, we love what we do. I haven't really heard anybody who doesn't. It's a really hard training process, but at the end of the day, you help somebody. There are minimum requirements, and that's basically the preparation, because we give you all the tools through the academy and throughout your training in order to become successful with us. But ultimately, like Claire said, we're family, we look out for each other, we love our job, and we're really compassionate about it. It's so fun where we work. We all support each other, and you know, we just want someone who likes the job, who wants to work hard just like we do, and who really, really is compassionate about someone, you know, just to help people. And yeah, someone who loves their job just as much as we do, even after the really grueling process.
Thank you, Marissa. Claire?
Yeah, I think what Marissa said, like an ideal candidate is, we have pretty basic minimum requirements. Just if you are driven and motivated and you want to work with us and want it and just keep trying, you're going to get through the training. You're going to get through, and then we'll try to help you the best we can after that to get through, because we all want you to succeed too. And yes, all of us are very passionate about the job. We're all very interested in what we do and how to make it better. We're always looking at different ways to improve and bouncing ideas off of each other and working together. Teamwork is probably one of the biggest parts of our job, because the job won't work without just one of us. Like, we all have to work together. Every shift has to work together. Everybody's on overtime. You're going to work with every single person that works with us at some point or another, and you need to be able to work with all of them. And there's no room in emergencies. It's life or death. So there's no room, you know, to not be able to work well with people. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. So just be prepared going in, to be humble and be ready to learn. And even after I've been there for years, I'm still learning new things every day. I'm going to be learning new things every day. And there's always a different emergency that comes up that you're like, you've never heard anything like that before. And you're like, okay, wow. Like, okay, what are we going to do with this? And we figure it out and we get the help there. But yeah, just be passionate, motivated. And you have to really want to do this. And I had no idea what this job was before I started working here. And I kind of learned along the way. And I'm so glad I did, because it's such a good fit.
Thank you, Claire. Okay, this one's from the chat from Hamid. And so the question is, has the city of San Jose looked into AI language models like ChatGPT to assist in processing responses faster? And I'll go ahead and take this one. We are not currently investigating or looking into that for our 911 center. And accuracy is really important when it comes to 911 calls, in addition to the speed of processing. And there's that dynamic nature of an emergency, in emergency situations, the need for that human discernment when it comes to those emergencies. So it's not something that we're currently exploring. So I wanted to get to that. And I see Michael with your hand up. Michael, go ahead.
There's a program through the academy. It's like a 3-week program. Is that beneficial for hiring or increasing the chances of the hiring?
So I think we do. So it's not a requirement, but it is not going to hurt you. And I know that class talks in general about dispatching, and it would definitely help you prepare for the job, but it's not a requirement of the job. And we do frequently go speak at those academies to also try to recruit those folks as well. Anything else you want to add on that one? And so what he's referencing, Marissa and Claire, there's that basic post dispatch academy that gets put on. I don't think there's anything else. Michael, is there any, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
And then add one other question too. Whereabouts are you located?
So we are in downtown San Jose, kind of near like the police department, and like the courthouse is kind of some landmarks folks might be familiar with. So near downtown San Jose. And so we have just a few more minutes. I'm going to just do a quick scroll through. And then if you have any additional follow-up questions about the hiring process, you can go ahead and look at sjfd911.org and the job posting, and there's there are some contact information there as well. I see one more question with a hand up. We're only going to be able to take that last question. We don't have time to get to everybody else, unfortunately, in the chat. But again, go ahead and if you contact sjfd911.org, there's a email that you can go ahead and reach out with some questions as well. So Tariq, you're going to go ahead and close us out. Go for it.
Well, thank you. I wanted to say this was very informational and very good. I already applied and I wanted to add something else. Is the person whose name was in the email, can I contact them just to add that, or should I reapply with the additional info?
I do not have the answer. I would go ahead and just contact that HR representative that's a part of the hiring. I would go ahead and contact them. So that email you referenced.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then I see one more for Ephraim from the chat that I will go ahead and just answer really quick. They're asking when will they know if they've been chosen to join our team. So notifications should follow that timeline. So roughly around each of those next steps, you would be notified by HR if you're moving forward in the process. And so I wanted to go ahead. I'm going to share some information, share my screen one more time with you with our contact information, and then I am going to go ahead and wrap this up for us. So thank you for joining us. And thank you to everyone who joined us on Facebook Live, and thank you to everyone who joined us on Zoom. Thank you to our panelists for all of your awesome information, and to the control room for all the hard work that they are doing in there. I'm not sure if you were all able to scroll through and see it, but they went ahead and wanted to put the video on so you could all see what the control room looks like. So if you find that attendee called Fire Control Room, they're in there right now taking calls and helping our community. So thank you to them. Thank you to Vitali for helping us out to coordinate this. And we hope that all of you had found this to be a worthwhile of your time. If you are interested in applying, again, the deadline is going to be March 10th. So get those applications in and go to sjfd911.org for any other questions. And we will go ahead and wrap up here. So thank you again, everyone. Have a good evening.